Don't you just love it when a microbrand owner actually listens to its target audience and acknowledges that setbacks and difficulties in launching a brand and a new watch into an already saturated market are inevitable? But with perseverance and dedication, that brand can overcome adversity and accomplish their aspirations. Now, it's a quality that suggests that no matter how challenging a situation may be, continuing to strive towards a goal with unwavering dedication can ultimately lead to triumph. Today, we're taking the macro lens to the Companion by British microbrand Satori. And this Companion is reborn, version 2, and ready to make its mark in the microbrand world. And we take a very close look at every single aspect of this watch, as I always try to do for you, my lovely viewers, all one of you. And just a quick note for those of you who don't already know, I appreciate my vids can be quite long, so I do leave chapters in all my reviews. So if you want to watch specific sections of my breakdown, then you can use those chapters to hop around. Oh, and don't forget to please leave a subscribe and or a comment. I would absolutely love to hear what you think about this watch, or if you want to comment, to just say hello. And stick around to the end of my in-depth analysis of the Satori Companion, as I take you to Wentworth Castle for my usual end of review walk around, as I take this everyday companion watch around the glorious gardens, woodland and parkland at Wentworth Castle Gardens, including the lovely Stainborough Castle here in South Yorkshire in beautiful England. As ever, it's great to have you here. Now let's look at an overdramatic specification of this watch, all in the next 90 seconds. Satori is a microbrand from the United Kingdom that aims to provide stylish and reliable timepieces for everyday wear, and also who are committed to providing our customers with exceptional service and quality while staying true to our values of affordability. And this in my hands today is the Companion, which is Satori's first collection of watches, but one that feels reborn from the one that they attempted to release in 2022, but subsequently withdrew their Kickstarter campaign. Now in 2024, and having listened to tons of feedback from potential wearers of the Companion, it has been relaunched and is currently in the middle of their 2024 Kickstarter campaign, as of today, Monday the 4th of March 2024. And that Kickstarter campaign will end on Sunday, 10th of March 2024. The Companion collection consists of several colorways including Cosmos, Crimson, Forest, Covert, Tuxedo, and this, the Marine. And the watch was created really as an everyday companion watch, but there is definite field watch vibes that run through its design. So just to reiterate what was said in a rugged and overly dramatic 90-second spec, this, the Companion, comes in at 11.5mm thick, 41mm in diameter, 47mm lug to lug, 20mm at the lug, with this fabric strap tapering down to around about 18mm by the time it reaches the signed buckle. Okay, so starting with a dial, I mean, what can I say? The first thing that grabs my attention is the actual depth of the dial. It sits pretty deep into what is already a relatively-ish thin watch, and that depth really emphasises on this rehort that slopes down from the crystal and onto that dial. The hour markers are applied and in numerals less the 6, which houses the date complication, which by the way is colour matched on all companions to the dial. Those hour markers are in white with a bold black outline to really give it a high contrast against the dial, which is synonymous with field watch designs. You have a printed 24-hour format too integrated into the dial right here in the middle, which adds a bit of a complexity into this dial. And note that the markers on either side of the 24-hour numerals, which gives that element of the dial, weirdly enough, feeling like a bit of a sun shape, which I find very subtly complements the shape of that bezel. You've got the Satori logo printed under the 12 with the brand name and automatic status above the 6, all of which are in white, so no addition of complicated or fancy colours onto the style, as it's all in white. So if you're a field watch purist, I'm sure you'll be pretty pleased about that. Moving outwards and back to the rehort, it is printed with minute markers and numerals every 5 minutes, and I actually really like the inverted triangles that sit under each of the 5-minute numerals, again adding a nice amount of complexity to the overall face of this watch without making it feel overly too busy. The hour and minute hands, I'd say, take more of a shape of paddle hands as opposed to syringe hands. They definitely flatten out at the tip like a paddle. There's definitely no pronounced taper towards that tip, though I must say that both hour and minute hands are very slender indeed, approximately 1mm in diameter at its fattest point. Now my personal preference would be more of a 1.5mm thick paddle hand, particularly as it sits against a fairly complex dial and on a 41mm case diameter, but again that's just a subjective view. Now the hour hand is short, its tip extending out to about a millimetre away from the hour markers, so probably the design thought of that was, I don't know, probably caught between extending that hand out to overlap that hour marker a touch and keeping it in tune with that 24-hour central format, but I think the balance overall is okay. The minute hand in contrast extends right out to almost touch that rehort, and the same goes for the counterbalanced needle-thin steel lollipop seconds hand, which extends a touch further out into that rehort. Now I say lollipop, but the Companion seconds hand comes with a more of a defined hexagon about 2mm from its tip, which overlaps the hour markers. And the watch is lit up with Superluminova BGW9 on the thicker part of the paddle hands, and the hexagon on the seconds hand, the hour numerals, the inverted triangles on the rehort, and interestingly the Lume is also on the date complication. Now there's not much else I can say about the Lume, as it really does speak for itself. The crystal is a flat, scratch-resistant sapphire crystal with an anti-reflective coating. Now I think legibility of this watch is as you'd expect with a field watch. It's pretty good given the complex nature of the dial, but that high contrast makes the readability of this watch pretty good. And that AR coating does its job okay too when faced with certain angles of light. Now surrounding the dial and crystal is this brilliant bezel. It's fixed, but its shape is really one that catches the eye. Now those scalloped edges, all 8 of them, add some seriously impactful detailing to this watch. Now I actually think that the bezel, coupled with the depth of the rehort, really is the Companion's trademark placed onto this watch, and it's a bit of a bold move, dare I say, by Satori to create a field watch that leans away from the traditional pure round bezels. So this design offers you something a bit different and something a little bit quirky. I mean, personally, I really do like it, and definitely adds a lot of depth to what otherwise may have been a much more of a plain and boring watch had it adopted a bezel that was purely circular in its design. The case is fully machined, marine grade, 316L stainless steel, and measures 47mm lug to lug, and is finished with quite a cool bead blasted satin effect. I mean, this case really is characterized by its lack of high shine or glossiness, making it a little less reflective than a polished finish, but more so than a matte finish. The bead blasted satin finish offers you a very soft, very smooth and ever so slightly reflective appearance, so actually does catch the light very well. The overall look and feel of this case is one of very smooth characteristics, which blends nicely, I feel, into that scalloped edging of the bezel, but also the soft cornering and gentle curvature of the case itself, adding a touch of sophistication to this everyday wear. You have a very bold push-pull crown at the 3 sitting against one of those scallops on the bezel, and it has the Satori logo embossed into it. And note that the Companion is also water resistant up to 10 ATM or 100 meters. I mean, I wouldn't take this swimming personally, not least because my OCD gets in the way of me taking a fabric strap, albeit water resistant, into the ocean, but saying that, it would work perfectly well on the shores of the Mediterranean or indeed at the swimming baths. And speaking of the strap, the Companion sits on this fabric colour matched leather back strap with quick release spring bars. Like I say, each Companion strap is colour matched, which I think is a brilliant offering personally, so you really do get the full colourway experience all around your wrist as opposed to just on the dial. You've got reinforced adjustment holes here. I mean, personally, I've never been a huge fan of reinforcement on the adjustment holes, particularly if it is in a contrast colour to the strap colour. I mean, the strap actually itself feels very durable without it, so probably its inclusion was a design choice to showcase this watch's durability, but like I say, the strap feels in itself very durable. I think the fabric probably stiffens it a touch, but that's not to say that with increased usage, this strap won't conform comfortably to your wrist. It absolutely will, and also note that the buckle is signed and is finished in the same way as the case. The movement is a Miyota 9015 movement, 24 joules, 28,800 beats per hour, 42 hours of power reserve, hand windable, hacking seconds, and a movement that I know will get a lot of love from the Microbrand community. And that movement is contained behind this brilliant exhibition caseback, which as you can see looks very lovely indeed. You have a very nicely branded rotor, and Satori haven't just slapped their logo on it, they've literally created a very nicely done intricate pattern using their logo that spans the entirety of this rotor, with the brand and product names declared in the middle. And it's a branded rotor that I really like, I must say. You have your usual spec detailed on the perimeter of that exhibition caseback, but note the Latin text: Perseverantia omnia vincit. Personal touch reflecting the founder's journey, translating to perseverance conquers all things. On my 7.5-inch wrist it wears, well, what can I say? I did mention that you may need to probably wear it a few times to soften that strap to conform it to your wrist and for that ultra comfortable feel, but aside from that, wearing in process, I think it wears pretty good initially. Now it's 41mm in diameter, and I'd say it probably wears much like a 41 or 42mm rather than something a little smaller, so you do get this pretty boldish feel on the wrist. The lug to lug being 47mm means that this strap pretty much immediately drops down my wrist, adding to the boldness of the face of this watch on my wrist. I love the depth of the riot. I mean, it's not an overly fat watch, 11.5-ish millimeters in height, and it feels like the dial drops right down, almost like a flat bottom valley, with the emphasis on the steepness of the riot. It feels very durable on my wrist. Like I could grab this watch and stick it on my wrist before I hike up Ben Nevis, and I'd feel that it would be the perfect fit for that. Now, I wore it on an Uber walk around Wentworth Castle in its respective gardens here in South Yorkshire, wearing black jeans, Air Force Ones, a tee and a relaxed fit puffer hooded jacket, and it felt like it blended in pretty well. In terms of price, the Companion is currently marketed on the Kickstarter campaign at £318 sterling, around about $400 or 370-ish euros, and just to reiterate that Kickstarter campaign is currently fully funded, which will end soon, In fact, Sunday, March the 10th, 2024, just after midday, with production expected to last around about 12 weeks plus quality control after the allowing of the funding period to complete, and then anticipated shipping to be around about mid-July 2024. Now, one may say that the price is a very small touch on the sharp end given that the brand is newly established, but I feel that if you're in the pretty niche but very very cool demographic of being a hardened Microbrand fan with a love for field watches, who is welcoming of a watch that boasts exceptional spec and design aesthetics that push the design boundaries somewhat, then this is something that you really need to put your name to. Overall, well look, I'll be perfectly honest and say that I personally really like it. The bezel and the riot depth are two elements of this watch that are personally stand out for me. If I was to make a choice, I would most certainly go for either the Cosmos or the Tuxedo, but actually I've kind of gotten a bit attached to this Marine the longer I've spent time with it. Also, I must say that I'm really glad that this has achieved initial funding, and if you've made the order, my advice is to hold firm because you really won't be disappointed. And if you haven't yet made that order, then I'd take some time to seriously consider backing it. But like I say, I'm chuffed for Satori. It's been a long journey for Roy Meir, the Satori brand owner, who oversaw a, let's say, a tricky first campaign back in 2022. But his perseverance and actually the way he has listened to Microbrand fans across several social channels is something that has been absolutely brilliant and showcases the fact that with this Microbrand, you will get a timepiece that has changed elements of its design and spec in accordance with demand. And I'm really glad Roy persevered with releasing the Companion. As the watch states on its caseback, Perseverantia omnia vincit. Perseverance conquers all things.